1333 Porter Street, Jackson, Illinois. The scene of unspeakable terror. Abandoned by the living, occupied nonetheless. The house was one of several farmhouses once owned by the Jackson State Penitentiary. The prison, now closed, was a cesspool of criminal activity, corruption, and murder. Ah, I used to visit so often. During the 1920s, the prison doubled as a distillery for gin. These tunnels were hand-dug by prison chain gangs. Of course, the prison warden and guards could ill afford leaks to their lucrative business endeavors. While the prison had a cemetery, of sorts, that could be seen in the far northwestern corner from the road. They tended a much larger, although unmarked, burial ground at the terminal end of the southeast tunnel. They jokingly referred to as the Body Farm. Years later, in the 1950s, the farmhouse had been sold and the land incorporated into the city, which had grown to encompass its once rural surroundings. A seemingly endless parade of traumatized families came and went, usually screaming into the night. But I digress. The last occupants left all their meager belongings behind, and so they remain to this day. It seems the male child found a rather unique item under the floorboards of the shed out back. He told his mother, who proceeded to scold him and told him to run along and play. The children seemed to be the target of poltergeist activity, as they were never believed. November of that year brought a heavy snow. The mother and her children were in bed, fast asleep, when all at once a thunderous clatter erupted. They all leapt from their beds to witness every cabinet door opening, then slamming shut, as if by unseen angry hands. The mother gathered her children as they clambered downstairs. To her shock, all the doors in the house were standing wide open. A torrent of icy wind, cutting through the living room and exiting the back of the house through the kitchen porch. She called her husband home from work, then called the police to report a break-in. Her husband raced home on the icy roads. I rode along. We wouldn't want to have a messy accident in his panic. Now would we? The police arrived before him and quickly ascertained there had been no break-in. The fresh blanket of snow that had fallen just at dusk, then stopped, held no tracks at all. They gathered in the kitchen after the police had gone. The husband began to argue, but something gripped his attention and contorted his features into sheer horror. The salt and pepper shakers began to violently rock back and forth, hitting their bottoms loudly against the tabletop. One of them launched past the father's head and through the glass of the kitchen door, where a bloody handprint began to materialize, along with the specter of an old convict. Someone covering his mouth with a sinister, translucent hand. And so it goes. Another abandoned lot in an empty industrial city in the Midwest, where unclaimed bones remain on a secret body farm.